invite Brother Zainullah on stage to recite the holy verses.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wallahu alladhi la الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم صدق الله العظيم. அருள் வசனங்களில் தமிழ் மொழிபெயர்ப்பு. அளவற்ற அருளாலும் நிகரற்ற அன்புடையுமாகிய அல்லாஹ்வின் திருப்பெயரால். அவனே அல்லாஹ் வணக்கத்திற்குரியவன். அவனை தவிர வேறு நாளும் இல்லை. மறைவானவையும் பகிரங்கமானவையும் அறிபவன். அவனே அளவற்ற அருளாலும் நிகரற்ற அன்புடையோர். அவனே அல்லாஹ் வணக்கத்திற்குரிய நாளில். அவனை தவிர வேறு யாரும் இல்லை. அவனே பேரரசன், மிக பரிசுத்தமானவன், சாந்தி அளிப்பவன், தஞ்சம் அளிப்பவன், பாதுகாப்பவன், யாவரையும் மிகைப்பவன், அடக்கி ஆடுபவன், பெருமைக்குரியவன். அவனை இணை வைப்பவற்றையெல்லாம் விட்டு அல்லாஹ் மிக தூய்மையானவன். அவன்தான் அல்லாஹ் படைப்பவன், ஒழுங்குபடுத்தி உண்டாக்குபவன், உருவமளிப்பவன். அவனுக்கு அழகிய திருநாமங்கள் இருக்கின்றன. வானங்களிலும் பூமியிலும் உள்ளவையும் அவனையே தஸ்பீஹ் செய்து துதிக்கின்றன. அவனை யாவரையும் மிகைத்தவன், ஞானமிக்கவன். ஸலமு அலைக்கும்.
Next, I call upon Jashwant and friends to recite the Tamil Thai word. I request all to stand up for the Tamil Thai word.
சீராரும் பதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டனிதில் எக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடனன் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை முதலும் தனித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற ஏத்திசையும் புகழ்மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிலமை ஸ்திரமி என்று செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
Thank you, friends. Dear friends, as I told you, we are here for the inaugural session of the 3-day training program. I now invite our Vice Principal, our beloved Vice Principal, Dr. Raja Mohammed Kamil sir, to felicitate the gathering.
In the name of Almighty Allah, the most beneficent, most merciful, most respected mentor, philosopher, our guide, former principal of this esteemed institution, the custodian of history, author of so many books, our beloved professor, now director of non-formal education, VSA Society, Major Dr. S. Sayyid Sahabuddin sir, our distinguished resource person of this program, Professor of Gandhigram University, Professor Palanidurai sir, my esteemed friend who served in the institution for 2 decades, Dr. K. Mohanasundram sir, the head of the Department of History, Professor Abul Fazal, and the faculty members of history, my dear beloved students from various departments and participants. Assalamu alaikum, very good morning to you all. It gives me immense pleasure to take part in this noble function, noble program. Really, I must thank to the organizer for giving me right to be a part of this human rights program in the right moment. I must appreciate the organizers, no doubt, the pain, the difficulties they have taken to run this program, 3-day training program in association with National Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development. It's a 3-day program. Because as organizer of several programs, myself have come across so many difficulties, even to conduct 1-day program. My credits, salute go to the history department, especially the head of the department and the faculty members for having carried out such a wonderful phenomenon. As far as this institution is concerned, this is the epicenter of human rights, no doubt. Right from its inception, 100 years ago, it has fulfilled the rights of education of downtrodden, underprivileged people. It has fulfilled the right to the equality. For the past century, it continues in its mission till now. It's a great achievement. It's a great vision of our forefathers, Vaniyambadi, our forefathers of Vaniyambadi Muslim Educational Society, who established the institution. Because all of you know, National Human Rights Commission was established only recently, but even in 1919, the institution was established only with the sole aim of providing equal opportunity, providing education to all. Still it's carrying out its mission so successfully. Really, the program is going on very well. The organizers have taken a lot of efforts to bring the resource persons. They have handpicked the resource persons, resourceful, knowledgeable resource persons. Right to the south from Gandhigram, to the east to SLR College, Ranipet, and here in Karnataka University. All are well-versed, conversant people who are going to deliver the need of human rights. What will happen if human rights are not properly followed? Human rights, all of you know, a very simple thing, I recollect all these things. the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to work, the right to get educated, freedom of expression, the freedom from slavery, and the right to equality. These are all the fundamental human rights. If human rights is any force, any people, any individual who undermines these rights lead to violation of human rights. That is the order of the day. Everywhere you can see the newspaper, how many violations of human rights, right from the bondage till the honor killing, the caste inequality that leads to honor killing. You would have come across so many such worst incidents all through the nation. Violence against the women, domestic violence, all these things. These are all the consequences of not observing the human rights. So the awareness is very much required. It's a need of the hour. Every one of you should be aware of need of the human rights. So if anybody is affected, anybody falls prey to the human rights, it should not be left as such. So you must fight for that. There are mechanisms out there. National Human Rights Commission is there. State Human Rights Commission is there. It is up to you without believing that thing. Because now people are not aware of their own human rights. That is the reason when they are not aware of human rights, they will become used to that. They think it is a normal practice. They never comply. There is a bonded laborers. Bonded laborers are bought for 10,000, 15,000. They continue to work as a bonded laborer, but they never realize they are under them. And they are the sufferers of human rights violation. They continue to work there. As a result, what happens, you know? Nobody is there to represent that matter. As a result, what happens? They continue to their life under worst condition. Even when they realize that they are the victims of human rights violation, what they do? They remain silent about the power of the vested interests. Even when they go anywhere, they are not helped. That is the thing. They continue that. Even it is taken to the proper place, it was not quickly solved. So these are all the pitfalls we face in the society. So it is a younger generation like you, by the use of this seminar, 3-day seminar, you must make yourself knowledge about what are the human rights. Constitution that talks about human rights. What are the Constitution have guaranteed the human rights. These are all the things you must know about that. There is a reason the organizers have taken such a strenuous, laborious efforts to bring such an eminent persons from nowhere to bring here. So 3 days program, the speakers are going to talk about the human rights of tribals, human rights of minorities, human rights of Dalits, and the opportunities, challenges, opportunities, human rights. Then our Dr. Mohammad Nasar is going to speak about the Constitution and the human rights. So it is up to you. You must utilize this program very well. There must be a sea change at the end of this program. That should be, the message should be passed on to your neighbors, your villages, that no human rights violation has taken place in your knowledge. So, as a result of this program, we will work diligently for the respect, modesty and dignity of the individual. The forum will continue to work for that. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for welcoming the resource persons, the students, and the entire gathering on behalf of the college. I, on behalf of our department, welcome all the resource persons on that. I welcome Dr. Major Syed Shahabuddin sir, who is a mentor, philosopher, guide for this institution and especially for our own department. He is the former head of the Department of History, and now it is on his footsteps, on the footprints which he has left. We are working. Likewise, I welcome Dr. G. Vaniyambadi sir on behalf of the department, who is again a very senior person, senior professor from Gandhigram University, actively involved in lot of administrative work. Whenever the government of Tamil Nadu or the government of India thinks about rural administration, local self-government, it is Dr. Vaniyambadi sir who comes into the mind of the government of Tamil Nadu and the central government. I welcome Dr. K. Mohanasundram sir, who has been a former professor of our department and who is set as a role model to follow. And I heartily welcome our own principal sir, vice principal sir. As principal sir is out of station, vice principal sir is here representing the principal sir, and on his own also he is here. Thank you sir, thank you for coming. And I welcome all our colleagues from the history department. I welcome senior professors from our college and senior professors from other colleges. I welcome all the students. So we are going to be here for 3 days. 3 நாள் பயிலரங்கம். இந்த பயிலரங்கம் வந்து மனித உரிமைகள் சார்ந்தது. எல்லா மனிதர்களுக்கும் கண்ணியமான, கௌரவமான, சந்தோஷமான, திருப்தியான வாழ்க்கை வாழ்வதற்கான அடிப்படை உரிமை இருக்குது. அந்த கண்ணியமான, கௌரவமான, சந்தோஷமான, திருப்தியான வாழ்க்கை வாழணும் அப்படின்னு சொன்னா அடிப்படை உரிமைகள் நமக்கு கிடைக்கணும். அந்த அடிப்படை உரிமைகள் நமக்கு கிடைக்கணும் அப்படின்னா அந்த உரிமைகளை பற்றிய தகவல் நமக்கு தெரியணும். ஸோ இந்த பயிலரங்கம் அப்படின்றது அந்த கருத்தோட தான் ஏற்பாடு செய்யப்பட்டிருக்கு. Now we on behalf of our department and our college would like to honor our guests. I now request our beloved Vice Principal sir to honor Dr. Major Syed Shahabuddin sir. I now request Dr. Major Syed Shahabuddin sir, who is part and parcel of this organization, of this college, of this society, to honor Dr. K. Vaniyambadi sir on behalf of BAB Society, on behalf of Islamiah College, and on behalf of PG and Research Department of History. I now request Dr. Liaquathali sir to come on stage and honor Dr. K. Mohanasundram sir. Now we'll move on to the inaugural address. Once we thought of this inaugural session and inaugural address, the first name that came into our mind was Dr. Major Syed Shahabuddin sir, who as a professor has been actively involved with students and also with the society. So I now kindly request Dr. B.S. Syed Shahabdin sir to come on to deliver the inaugural address.
All glory and praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the cherisher and sustainer of the worlds, and peace be upon Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. Most honored resource person of the day, Dr. G. Pallidurai, my esteemed colleague and friend, Dr. KMS, K. Mohan Sundaram, generally we call him KMS, esteemed Vice Principal, beloved Head of the Department of History, my good friend Abul Fazil, fellow teachers, and my dear student friends. It gives me immense pleasure to come over here and to be a part of this 3-day training program on basic awareness on the need of human rights. As our Vice Principal has given a very exhaustive, a bird's view of several things on human rights, I think there is no need for any inaugural address. Dear friends, human rights are today's buzzword. A word or phrase, especially related to a particular subject, becomes fashionable or popular. In any democratic country, the rights of the individuals, the rights of the citizens are to be protected and respected. And abroad, that nation seeks to expand and strengthen human rights. Unfortunately, in pseudo-democracies, these things remain only in paper. Fundamental rights are there in the charter, in the conventions, in the constitutions, everywhere. And it is the bounden duty of every government to protect the rights of the individuals. We talk of human rights. We have got a Human Rights Commission at the national level, state level. We have got statutes, law, and these are enforceable through the judiciary. Everything is there, only on paper. But in ground realities, we find that these pseudo-democracies who talk much about these human rights, wink at when violations take place deliberately in connivance of the government authorities. It's a very unfortunate development. And the global society, the world is a global society. Every man should live with honor, dignity, and self-respect, and to allow to enjoy these human rights. This comes, if you take up the history of the evolution of human rights, you have to go back to the ancient times. Ever since the ancient times, we can find this concept of humanism, human values, human rights were found not only in a particular religion, in almost all religions. You take Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever may be, these humanism, human concepts are there. And these things were enforced. But for example, you take the Indian tradition. In ancient India, the concept of human rights and humanitarian laws, they were all based on wars and regulated at the regulated humanitarian laws to be adopted. What I mean to say is the humanitarian laws to be adopted before, during, and after the war. These laws emerged only at the time of war, and there during the war, and after the war, before the war. what kind of humanitarian laws are to be regulated, enforced. These things were discussed in the ancient Indian traditions. The rules of warfare. You take Manu Dharma. I am surprised to see that who should not be killed, who should not be slain during war. It is very clearly and categorically given. One who is sleeping, one who is without arms, one who is innocent, one who is not involved, one who is naked, one who is deprived of his weapons, one who is just looking on, not fighting, one who is not fighting, you should not kill him. These things are there in Manu Dharma. If you take up Mahabharata, it states very clearly that the enemies captured in war are not to be killed, but to be treated as one's own children. The prisoners of war were to be treated as one's own children. In Kaudilya's Arthashastra, we have got evidences that Chandragupta Maurya set free the prisoners of war captured during the time of war. These kind of things were found in the ancient Indian traditions. And if you look at the development of or the history of this human rights, we go back to Magna Carta, accepted by King John in 1215. Though it was exacted by the feudal barons in their self-interest, it was by no means intended to assert their rights and liberties for all. In clause 39 of the Magna Carta, it is very specifically mentioned that no free man shall be taken or imprisoned or exiled or in any way destroyed or killed except by lawful judgment of his peers or the law of the land. The law of the land is supreme and that should be followed. But during the medieval period, human rights were marred by the outbreak of a series of wars for upholding the traditional rights, upholding the traditional religious principles. Church dominated, and if you do not follow the church regulations, if you violate the principles, then severe laws were imposed. And there was a devaluation of common people due to feudalism during the medieval period. Feudalism, church, they dominated during the medieval period. But the idea of human rights developed in the process of revolutions that took place in history. During the time of revolution, we can find this idea taking proper shape. Rousseau, the great French philosopher, rightly said, man is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. And as a result of that, we can find a number of law documents, landmark documents emerge to protect the rights of man, starting from the Petition of Rights of 1628, Bill of Rights of 1689, American Declaration of Independence 1789, Virginia Declaration of Rights of 1776, American Bill of Rights of 1791. Likewise, we find landmark documents which spoke about this human rights. And Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, while restless, while writing this Declaration of Independence, while documenting that, it was declared on 4th July 1776, he declared very openly that not only the birth of nations, but also set forth a philosophy of human freedom that would become a dynamic force throughout the entire world. It was influenced by John Locke.